Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. For this one we're going to have a look at collaboration beer, so it's quite a while since I actually did one of these videos for you, so it should be quite interesting to do again. But we're going to visit two very interesting breweries, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me on that point. So we're going to have a little look at a beer called Dogwired, which is the love child of the 8 Wire Brewery from Marlborough in the South Island of New Zealand, and of Brewdog, who are from Ellon in Aberdeenshire in the northeast of Scotland. So as is usual with my collaboration beer reviews, I'll take you through a very brief history of both breweries, always shorter than my normal single brewery beers, if you like. It'll be a lot shorter than that, and as always as well, the brewery websites are in the video description along with the links to my beer reviews, both from 8 Wired and from Brewdog as well. But as I always say, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, then feel free to go on towards the latter part of the video and you will catch that particular segment. So anyway, to tell you about Brewdog first, this brewery is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey and was founded back in 2007, with their first brewery being in the Keswick Industrial Estate in the small town of Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, if you like. But more recently they moved their main brewing operations to their purpose-built facility in Ellon in Aberdeenshire, closer to the city of Aberdeen I should say. But they're known for being a very experimental brewery. You'll get all types of beers from these guys, and they're also very well known for their strong beers, the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, Sink the Bismarck, and also the End of History as well. But these guys are largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance, and they've also got several brew pubs throughout the UK, and these began opening in Scotland in 2010 with their first one in Aberdeen. Then they've expanded throughout Scotland and then England and more further afield now. And they've actually, the most recent brew pubs they opened in fact were in Japan, Sweden and Brazil, and they've got further expansions planned throughout Europe and the USA and Australia and things like that. But today they're the largest independently owned brewery in Scotland, and they're still expanding due to their equity for punk shareholding plans, which is where you can actually buy into the brewery in exchange for discount in the shop and things like that. They're a very, very good brewery, very, very fan orientated, so a really, really interesting one, and probably one of the flag carriers actually of Scottish craft beer these days. As I've said before, many craft breweries in Scotland are producing some really, really good stuff, so you know, keep a good eye out for them. And that's me, not just me being biased for being Scottish, it's people in the beer festivals that are saying this as well. So to tell you about 8 Wired now, this brewery was founded by the nomadic Dane Soren Eriksson, and he set up permanent roots in Marlborough in the South Island of New Zealand. But he spent some time studying in Perth in Western Australia. He was studying biochemistry, but he was a known regular at the famous Little Creatures brew pub, and there he also discovered a love of brewing through the famous Cooper's Home brewing kits that you can get down in Australia as well. But he moved to New Zealand in 2006, and he actually worked at Renaissance Brewing in Blenheim while living in Marlborough, where he's remained ever since. But Soren soon discovered that maintaining a brewery was a hugely demanding task, and so he decided to go down the route of gypsy brewing, almost like his countrymen in To'ul and McKellar in fact. And most of their beer is in fact brewed at the Renaissance Brewery in Blenheim, and it's steam brewing in Auckland as well on the North Island. But the brewery name actually comes from the number 8 gauge wire that was initially used in electric fences, but it became hugely versatile. And the idea behind this name is that it's supposed to kind of signify the New Zealander or Kiwi can-do spirit and their ingenuity as well. They're actually very, very kind of ingenious people, if you like. They're very sort of, they want to fix things and stuff like that. I've got a good friend, Adam, from New Zealand, and he's quite like that. He's kind of quite versatile and easygoing and stuff like that. So it does kind of signify the Kiwi spirit a little bit in my experience. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer. That's your brief history of the two breweries in fact. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one and read out the blurb as I always do. As you can see there, it's got the standard kind of Brewdog lettering on it there. You can see the 8 Wired symbol there with the little kind of number 8 gauge electric fence wire around it. You can see the Brewdog shield with the dog on it there. It's a very nicely presented bottle in fact, so I'm going to keep this one definitely, I would say. To read the blurb out for you on this one, it says, brewed in collaboration with Soren from New Zealand's stellar 8 Wire Brewery. This is an Imperial Pilsener featuring two of our favourite New Zealand hops, Nelson Sauvin and Motueka hops. Taste the hops, live the dream, learn to speak craft beer and love fruit. Realise the crafted odyssey and ride towards anarchy, ecstasy and caramel craziness. Take your taste buds to the edge, then ease off the gas and brake hard left for that sharp bitter finish. Expect an all-out New Zealand hoppy riot. So this one should be quite interesting. As it mentioned in the blurb there, the hops in this one are New Zealand Nelson Sauvin and Motueka hops, and the malts are actually, when I looked it up on the website, it says it's Munich Caramel. So this one should be quite an interesting one to try. And it's just to mention to you as well, it's a 6.8% Imperial Pilsner beer, so fairly heavy actually on the alcohol content for a Pilsner beer. But let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. Just adjust all my camera and stuff. I think I'm good to go. Oh, and as you can see, I forgot to point that out, standard Brewdog bottle cap on this guy, the white with the blue dog. Just move the light out the way, it's being a little bit funny there. But let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting. Here are, as you can see, a nice smoky opening there, just a few little bubbles kind of coming out there. But let's get it out into the glass and we'll see how we get on there. You can smell just a little bit of the fruit coming off this guy as it comes out of the bottle there. Should have sugared that up actually, there's just a little bit of stuff left in it there, but let's just get everything set back down. But as you can see, really beautiful looking beer actually, a very kind of bright and hazy kind of golden orange there, and it does smell very fruity in fact as you're kind of sugaring it about in the glass. You can see there's a nice solid finger of white frothy head on it there, but it is definitely hazy. As you can see, if I bring that closer to you and put my fingers behind it, you can't really see anything through it. In fact, not very transparent, a definite haze to it there, but a really beautiful looking beer with a nice coloured head on it there. So in terms of the aroma with this guy, very fruity, as you would expect from what they were saying in the blurb. A very kind of fruity beer in there, a lot of tropical fruit and some nice citrusy oranges in fact. If you breathe it in a little bit more, you're starting to get that kind of you're starting to get a little bit of the more malt base in there. It's got a nice kind of underlying but quite subtle caramel malt base there, and I think you're also picking up just a little bit of kind of yeasty character as well, I would say. But it's a very strong, as you would expect with these hops, it's a very strong citrusy and grapefruit aroma that you're getting off this guy. Just a good little bit of kind of fresh grassy character in there as well. But the malt character, I should point out in the aroma, it is very subtle, you know. You're not picking up much of it at all. But I would say that if you breathe it in kind of quite deeply, you do get just a little hint of a kind of yeasty character and just a little bit of that kind of Munich caramel there. And as you can see, the head on this one's just kind of going down a little bit there. But to sugar it up, definitely, you know, a very fruity brew. That's the main thing you can say about the aroma here. Not a lot of malt to it at all. Definite kind of grapefruit and orangey citrus in there. Really nice smelling beer. I'm quite sad you can't get this one anymore, but hopefully it's like the Mikkeller I Hardcore U and they'll do it again, so fingers crossed for that in fact. But let's give it a taste and see how we get on here. Yeah, well, in my experience, it doesn't taste quite like a Pilsner beer, but it's very nice anyway. Yeah, it kind of follows the aroma in that way. There's a lot of kind of fruity character in there, and a lot of nice kind of bitter and sweet grapefruit in there. Some kind of lemony citrus actually coming out more than orange as I was picking up in the aroma, but there's a lot of grass freshness in there with some nice kind of underlying pine resin to it as well. But it's a really nice beer. In my experience, it's a bit more reminiscent of an IPA or an American style pale ale than a Pilsner in fact, but I'm not too sure about that. But in fairness, now that I'm saying that, in fairness, the malt base in it is actually quite similar to a German style Pils beer, so it's almost more like a kind of pale ale hybrid with a Pilsner beer, so it works quite well. It's a beautiful beer, that's the main thing. You know, you can talk about styles all day, but the main interest of it is actually the flavour of the beer, and the flavour is beautiful. But yeah, like I'm saying, there's a lot of kind of, it's mainly the grapefruit that's coming out in fact. There's a lot of kind of grapefruity flavours in there, some nice lemony citrus as well, with some grassiness that adds quite a nice little bit of freshness to it, and I think there's some sort of resinous pine flavour in there too. But underlying that, you're getting nice caramel malt base. It's a little bit more prominent in the aftertaste in fact, like on the back sides of the tongue you're getting the sort of lying, piney, resinous grapefruit flavours, but more towards the front and on the middle you're actually starting to get a little bit more of that kind of caramel malt base, and it's got a little bit of yeasty character like I was picking up in the aroma there. I would say that's definite. It's a very, you know, as I said, the taste of this beer is absolutely beautiful. I'm sad that that this was only a kind of one-off collaboration, so hopefully we'll see more from these guys in the near future. But yeah, as is with the case with the aroma, the malt base is very subtle. Like I'm saying, it's coming out mainly towards the end of the beer. It's opening up, the beer's opening up fairly smooth, fairly smooth, and it kind of bitters out and you get all this kind of fruity character, and then just in the aftertaste and towards the end of the beer you're getting the nice kind of the very subtle caramel and yeasty character coming out. But yeah, the malt base on it is very subtle, I would say, in comparison to the flavour of the hops. But if you concentrate on the flavour when you're just taking it in, you will get just a little bit of caramel sweetness just on the kind of front and middle of the tongue. And that really is where a lot of your malt base is coming out. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this guy, it's actually a very, very smooth one. For being so bitter, some beers have the carbonation to match that, and that helps bring out the bitterness. But this one is in fact very smooth in my opinion. Yeah, I would stick with that. Very, very smooth in terms of how hoppy the beer is, and it suits it very well. In fact, it maybe helps bring out the malt character just a wee bit. Otherwise it would be a kind of pardon me, be a sort of full hoppy overload if you like. But I'd describe this as mid-bodied. It's got the kind of light carbonation, I would say, a very slightly oily mouthfeel to it in fact, and it's a little bit dry in the finish, but that's, as I say, you're getting those nice outlying fruit characters just in the back corners of your tongue, and you've got the nice caramel and bready malts just in the middle there, and that kind of dry character on the finish kind of helps these blend together really well, I would say. But overall, this is a really awesome beer. As I've said a couple of times in the review, I'm sad that this was only a one-off brew, and I really hope they'll get together and make more of these. Maybe make it you know, once every 2 years or something like that, where they do this beer so that it remains novel, but you still don't miss it so much, because it's a really, really nice beer. So fingers crossed that they get together and do this again. But it's, as I would say, it kind of reminds me in terms of the pardon me, sorry. As I was saying, it reminds me a little bit more of a kind of blend between a Pilsner and an IPA, if you like, rather than being an Imperial Pilsner. It's sort of more of a hoppy blonde beer, if you like, but that's not such an important point. The most important point with this beer is that it's got a beautiful flavour. So if you do get the chance to try this one, which I'm not sure about these days, give this guy a go. You will not be disappointed with it, and it's typical. It's got the very typical Brewdog elements to it as well, and it's also got the very kind of typical elements of the 8-Wired brewery as well. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of either of the breweries involved in this thing. But anyway, I hope you found this beer review informative. If you have, please subscribe to the channel, and there will be more beer reviews for you to follow. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer as well, if you do happen to have tried it. And thanks again for your support over my 220 or so videos that I've done now. It's much appreciated. And as I say, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. You've been watching Goddard Radio Moscow beer reviews from Scotland. I thank you again, and I'll catch you soon with another beer review. Cheers.